Apache Junction City Council work session to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder.
Present.
Councilmember Cross.
Here.
Councilmember Heck.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Nesser.
Present.
Councilmember Soller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Presentation, discussion, and proclamation of 2 surveillance trailers, camera modes from Air Comm Corporation. Who's speaking on it? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Just wanted to note real quick, it's going to be 2 mobile overt camera trailers is what we're looking at. And I'm Danny Saldana, work with the police department, currently assigned to support services. One of the areas I oversee is special events, and we are seeking approval from council to acquire 2 mobile overt camera trailers. And this first slide here that I have presented is pictures, 2 of them, an example. One on my left is going to be in a mobile overt camera trailer in transport mode with the solar panels in and the 22-foot mast down. And then the one on my right is going to be an example of it being deployed with the solar panels out and the mast up with the cameras out. And one of the big reasons we're looking at acquiring this technology is for the safety at our special events. So as we all know, the city is growing, and with the growth, our events are going to continue growing. So I have pictures here of our Lost Dutchman Days Rodeo and Carnival, Lost Dutchman Marathon, and we're going to be able to utilize and deploy these overt camera trailers in areas. It's going to be a force multiplier for the police department. It's going to free up resources that we can put officers in other areas for traffic control or other areas of the event where they're going to be needed. So by having these out there, we're going to be able to see what is going on real time. Our plan is to utilize this with a unified command, partnering with Superstition Fire, Parks and Rec, and other organizations in a unified command, viewing what's going on, so we're jointly assigning resources the quickest way possible to the area that is needed. A secondary use for this mobile overt camera trailer is in hotspot policing. As you all know, crime, we have upticks in different areas of the city, and when not being used at a special event, we can deploy these in different areas where we may have uptick in criminal damages or burglaries, and we can put them in construction areas, residential neighborhoods, commercial property, and public parks. These are different areas and examples that we could use this. And the vendor that we chose was Air Comm. It's a Utah-based company. They do have offices here in Tempe, Arizona. I worked with our IT director, Doug, and met with several different companies to make sure the product that we're going to select is going to meet the needs of the city of Apache Junction. So this is the company that we selected. They do have cooperative contracts with the city of Glendale and the city of Mesa. And we're looking to purchase 2 mobile overt camera trailers with a roughly $133,000 with pre-approved CIP funds. And tomorrow, this is also going to be on the consent agenda. And that is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, you're welcome to answer.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? Hey, Danny. So this says these are overt camera trailers.
Yeah, so
What is
a little bit about that.
what is
They're
overt?
pretty large. We're going to have markings of the police department on it, you know, our logo. So there's going to be no mistake that these are hidden cameras. It's nothing like that. They're going to be out in the open, very visible, so everyone knows at a special event or wherever they're deployed that these are out. You know, these are part of the police department, heavily marked.
So there's no such thing, or we're not looking at a covert one that would be hidden somewhere and watching the...
No, and then there's technology as well. So when you deploy these, if you do deploy them in a residential neighborhood, and we're going to aim them in a way, or we can black out the screen that we're not recording any areas that are private. So this is all going to be, you know, out in the open, and it's marked fully.
Okay. And I'd just be concerned that people would look at that and say that could be infringing on any privacy if they feel like there's these surveillance cameras. So I think...
Understandable, and it's the goal to be used in the public, out and open, very visible, and for the safety of the community.
Mayor,
Yes.
do you have any of these type of trailers already being used?
Currently, we do not have this technology, so this is something that we're looking to acquire to be in line with other cities for the safety at our special events.
And why this company? Why not a completely Arizona-based company? I'm
So-
sure these are being built all over the country. We see them all the time on construction sites. They got the blue-red lights flashing throughout the night. To help deter, I mean, obviously a criminal sees that and he knows he's going to be seen.
Sure.
But, you know, with the advent of COVID and everybody masking up for everything, it seems like criminals can figure out a way of getting around a lot of this stuff. How much of your surveillancing at, say, Lost Dutchman days will actually be looking for criminal suspects?
So it's going to
Is it
be,
going to be face recognition type stuff to where it, you know, picks up on something through a database where it can, you know, hey, we got a bad guy out here on the grounds, let's key in on him and follow him around and try and catch him before he leaves? Or, you know, enlighten.
sure. So I'll go ahead and start with your first question, which was in reference to how we chose this company. So we met with at least 4 or 5 different companies and had them present their product to us. Air Comm was very responsive, brought their product out to us. We looked at different products, and we felt this one to be the most beneficial for the needs of the city. And deploying these at special events, they will be used in different capacities. So if you do have an example, a lost child, we can pick up on that right away to help locate that child. It can be used to see for traffic needs, you know, for Lost Dutchman Days, Rodeo and Carnival, we do get a lot of traffic out there that can help us monitor direct resources for that. And as well, there is software with the analytics that you can search for certain things and look for a possible suspect. So definitely different, wide array of issues that we could address and look at. Hopefully that answers your question, sir.
Yeah.
So how did their, the pricing for this company compare to the other ones that you did talk to?
So there was different pricing with different companies. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but I feel this is a mid-range pricing. Felt it's fair, especially the cooperative contracts that were going off of Mesa and Glendale PD. Wanted to make sure we were going to get the best product, the best lifespan for our special events.
Okay, so in view of that, I had a couple of questions on that.
Sure.
So once we have these, what kind of maintenance and warranty do we have with these products?
So I believe it's a 2-year warranty on the cameras and the trailer. The lifespan is easily up to 15 years for the trailer itself, and the cameras itself are recommended to be replaced every 5-6 years is what I'm being advised in reference to the cameras itself.
And when these are deployed, let's say that you had, that it's Lost Dutchman Days, and it's a pretty big area, and you've got both of them out there to watch the whole area.
Sure.
How many people are actually live viewing that, so they might notice that somebody who's walking along just collapsed?
So when we deploy them at special events, talking a little bit about our unified command, we're going to have a dedicated person monitoring that so we can see if someone falls or maybe there's a lost kid. So for special events, that's going to be the whole event. Someone's going to be dedicated to that. Now for deployment in other areas for hotspot policing, it may be where someone is monitoring at times, but it's going to have at least a 30-day recording feature. If something happens, we can go back and pull that footage.
That answered the other question, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
One real quick one. How tall's the mast?
I believe it's 22 feet.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. One of your examples of where these cameras can be used is in a residential neighborhood. Now, what kind of scenario would that have to be, put it in a residential area?
So
And would you need a warrant?
So if you're on the public streets, if we deployed out there, let's just say we have a lot of anything that's public access, if you have a lot of vehicles that had burglaries and whatnot, it's not a private area. Anything, we don't want to be pointing these in backyards or anything like that. That's not the goal here. And if we would make sure that wouldn't be done. So you would not need a warrant if it's in a public space.
So is there any listening with this?
There is, I would have to double check. I don't believe there is any listening capabilities to it. It's just surveillance.
Okay, I would like to have the answer to that question, though.
Sure.
Yes?
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. So we streamlined these cameras into our Vigilant Alta system, which you guys approved about 4 months ago. And we're about 75% of doing that. We're condensing the city, water district, and also public safety into one Vigilant Alta system. It's by Motorola. So the cameras on these trailers are also Vigilant Alta as well. They have the capability to have sound if you program that way. We are not programming that way because they need to be streamlined because they're going to be doing camera only, whereas sound takes more bandwidth. So with these, we're doing satellite or cell data, or we can also plug into, if we have, like the rodeo, we're going to have point-to-point air fiber, so we're going to have connectivity there as well. So we'll connect them to that switch at the rodeo. But we have no intention to put sound on these because you need to have to streamline the bandwidth a little bit.
So they would have to be programmed
They
for
have
sound.
that capability.
They do have the capability, but we're not doing that capability.
We wouldn't in the trailer surveillance, no.
Sure, but like, let's say down the road, could you then decide to do
So on
that
cameras,
capability?
we have 26 cameras of Alta cameras. They have that capability for sound. And what that means is if there's a sound that comes up, the camera would activate. There's a rule then, and dispatch has access to these cameras. They could then see that activity that created that sound. So that's what the intent of the sound is for,
Okay.
okay?
Real quick, this would be part of the overall plan of a real-time crime center eventually, correct?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is a 3-year subscription on our Alta Aware camera surveillance that we're doing. And these cameras then would be already primed for that when we go into what we call Vigilon Unity, which is based what Glendale has done and also Mesa has done for their crime centers. So when we're doing the space committees, when we're trying to build a new police center, this is gearing us up for that first step. This is in the cloud solution that we have now. So it allows us to take our 150 cameras that we have citywide and be able to activate them all into one Unity and be unified. Whereas before we had like 6 different servers and everything was kind of not segregated, not unified. Now we have them unified where dispatch can watch those events even when they don't have one specialized person to be able to do that.
Right. And just real quick, from somebody that has worked with these, they are a game changer for the police. When you have areas, like you were saying, in a neighborhood, and you're getting a lot of vehicle burglaries in the middle of the night, you can put these up, and in the middle of the night, they can see cars going down the street, people jumping out of cars, checking car handles. You can put them anywhere you're having high crime, also these events, and once we get a real-time crime center, which I hope we do, they can be monitored, and it really makes a difference when you get calls for service because they can zoom in on things before the officers are even on their way there. And it really helps protect the officers, and I've seen that personally numerous times where we have information on shooters and they pick up where the person is before the officers get there. So I'm 100% behind this project.
So do you know what the radius clarity of these things are? I mean, could you be 50 yards away from it and it pick you up and know who you are and your license plate and the whole 9 yards?
I would have to refer to the documents I have on each system to see what they're capable of. I can just kind of read that to you. Maybe Doug, you can answer that.
So as far as the radius, I don't know the exact distance, but what you did ask about, the reason why we chose a Vigilant Alta software is because they have the ability to separate people in the recordings and also like vehicles in the recordings. One of the biggest challenges we always had with the legacy system we had, was going back to those recordings and be able to find those events quickly. Now what this software does, it's able to do recordings on the camera up to 30 days they have a SIM card in those cameras as well. So if they don't have connectivity back to us, they're able to capture that and then go back to those recordings and be able to see those. And it's really, reason why we chose these out of the demos we had is because the separation of color of a recording to be able to see a vehicle could be like purple, and then blue will be a recording of people. So if you have a suspect or a vehicle that you're looking for, it already separates the vehicles to people to where you go back in the recordings. So that's kind of the advantage of it. As far as the clarity, we found that we have access cameras that we've invested in, so we were able to bring those onto the system as well. And then with these trailers, they have the Vigilant cameras which have multiple lenses within them. So you'll be able to point them in different sections so you can get an entire area so the clarity's better. To answer your question, though, I'd have to, I can get that for you tomorrow and let you know the distance, how far it is.
It's really not that important.
It's a pretty good distance.
I was just wondering how sophisticated these things were.
Yeah, there's analytics built into these, and then also the sound is there to enhance that if you wanted to do that in certain areas. So that would be more in public areas, like if you had a busy downtown or something like that, but the capability's there if you need it. But that's why we chose this in the first place with a Vigilant Alta, is because of the ease of use to get recordings and the ease of use of transferring the recordings to courts and to the different public safety areas that they have to go to, where we always had challenges to get large files to them. This makes it an ease of use.
And sorry guys, I have a question for Chief. Hey, sir. So, Tempe has these,
Mesa.
Councilman Ursola, Mesa has these, I'm assuming the Glendales. Now, these are all big cities with hundreds of thousands of people. Do you feel our city needs something like this?
I do. To answer your question, I do. When an example is, like Lieutenant Saldana said, this is a force multiplier, meaning we can use these cameras to police an area or to keep eye on an area of large crowds. It helps us, it's where we can deploy our officers to certain locations. You know, when we talk about putting these at different locations, one of them, an example I think of is, we get complaints of street racers where cars are coming into the city and they're peeling out and they're racing. This would be a perfect piece of equipment to deploy in those areas where we're getting these complaints. It does have the ability to zoom in on license plates from distances away. I've seen them in use. They are extremely helpful. An example I saw in Tempe where we were watching it live where somebody fell into the lake, and unfortunately that person drowned, but we tried to get people out there immediately, and it gives us a rapid response. It doesn't matter how big of a city you are or how small. If you want to have the best coverage and the best police work and the best equipment, this is what I would recommend as one of the best pieces of equipment for large events.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Also, Chief, if you get a lot of traffic accidents in one place, you can put it there and watch the intersections and be able to say, yeah, you ran the red light, not this car.
Yeah.
And we can start looking at traffic flow and how we deal with that.
Yes. Yeah, it gives us a real-time information, visual information.
Anyone else? Thank you.
You bet. And like Lieutenant Saldana, this will be on the consent agenda for tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, we're doing it back to back because we were able to procure it and save some bucks, right, Matt, in terms of the
Right,
rounds.
right. If we waited till the January meetings, the price would go up 5%.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lieutenant. You did a good job.
Okay. Presentation discussion of First Amendment to Employment Agreement with Michelle. Michael, can't read it.
Michael McVey.
McVey for Apache Junction Municipal Court. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and happy holidays to all of you, by the way. I'm Judge Lasota, for the presiding judge with the Municipal Court. This is to ask for Judge McVey to be reappointed. He's been with us for the past 2 years. He's done an awesome job. I put in the memorandum things about his qualifications and experience for those of you that aren't familiar with him, that weren't here when he first got appointed. But he's finishing up 2 years. His term expires currently on January 4th. So the highlights for the memo that you're probably most interested in is we're asking that he be upped a little bit on his salary to $71,000 a year, and that he be given a 4-year term, as you gave me a 4-year term as well. I think that's in the best interest of the city and the court to do that. With him being part-time, we're not having to pay him any benefits or any vacation time or anything like that. Additionally, I've been saving $73,000 a year by not hiring a judicial assistant for the past 1.5 years. And then my plans are not to fill that position for another 1.5 years. So basically, that position starts at $73,000 a year. And with benefits and everything, basically, you're getting the cost of Judge McVey for 4 years for what the judicial assistant would have cost you. So I'm trying to save you money on that front as well. But we definitely need Judge McVey. His part-time work helps save us from having a full-time magistrate with as much work and as hard as he works, and the skill set that he has with the court. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Yes.
I only had one question, just out of curiosity. What kind of increase was that? I mean, where was
I think
he
he
at
was around
before?
$63,000 a year, and he asked to be increased to 71, which is fair, because when he first started, he didn't know our operating system and that type of thing, and then he's proven himself, that he does a much more efficient job than a lot of full-timers would do that we could hire that are nowhere near the experience he does. He's got 20 years of experience in Superior Court, doing every single division in Maricopa County Superior Court except for probate. So he's extremely proficient, and he works quickly, and he helps handle the huge caseloads. And we have caseloads on Tuesday mornings that get up to 79, 80 cases, and we need them.
Yeah, it was just like everything else that you were telling us about him, except for where he was. That's why I was kind of curious what the rate difference was.
Yes.
Yes.
Judge, so it says his annual salary, but he's scheduled to work 19 hours a week.
Correct.
Being salaried, if he worked 23 hours that week, he still gets
Then he would get all the
71.
benefits and everything, though. We'd have to pay him.
He's
he
asking a
does
different
sometimes-
question, Judge.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think he's asking a different
The
question. Ask it-
question, if he's salaried, then he could work any amount of hours and he wouldn't get paid more. If he wasn't, if it was hourly, then he would, if he worked 23 hours, he'd get paid for 23 hours. So it would exceed that 71. Is that?
Like he was asking, is he just gonna work 19 hours? So what
Well,
happens?
he ends up working more than that, but he doesn't charge us for it. But on the books, it needs to be 19 hours a week or less, so that we don't have to pay all these
Did you want to hear
benefits.
that he works and doesn't charge us? I don't know.
Anna over here is.
Yeah, I think she's like, she's
La, 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 la,
going
la.
through the HR manual going, wait a minute. I mean, that was I guess that, and I don't know whether, if he's salaried, then it wouldn't matter, but it sounds like
Well, his salary
technically
is
he's
the
hourly.
contract salary.
So Judge, is the target weekly amount, what is it?
It averages 19 hours a week. Sometimes it can be more.
Okay.
I'm gonna, Your Honor,
Yes.
on Peter's question, is he a salaried or a hourly employee?
It's a contract,
Salary.
salary.
A flat 71,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how many hours he works.
That's right, right, Anna. That's right.
Because if he's hourly and he works more than that and doesn't report it, he could sue us for treble damages.
Correct.
So,
That's right.
That's right.
That's why I asked if it was hourly.
So that's why we're trying to keep him at 19.
So he's definitely salary, so there's
Yes.
there's no limit to the hours that he could work if necessary.
Correct, if you agreed to it for the extra hours.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying that he needs to work 40 hours a week on a planned 19 hours, but I just know, and you said workload is such that there may be a given week where he had to work 23 hours and there wouldn't be any additional compensation.
And on the rare occasion I get a vacation for a few days,
Right.
he needs to be there all the days of the week.
Right.
And, and then he makes up for that because he takes some vacations we don't pay him for, but, that's the way the hours kind of work out in the long run over the course of a year.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is he a 2-year contract now?
He's a 2-year contract now, and
And
we're
when is that up?
requesting
Is
that
that
he
up now?
up it to 4. I'm sorry, what?
Is it up at the end of this year?
Yes, on January 4th.
Then he wants it to bump it up to 4 years with the salary increase.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you're not having to give another big bump or anything at 2 years, that he would only get, in the meantime, whatever salary increases normal city employees get, whatever those percentages are when you do the COLAs.
Is this your only contract employee? How many contract employees do you have over there?
Our court administrator, no, is court administrator under contract? No, she's an employee. So we have a management consultant that's there part-time that helps instead of having a full-time management analyst. And she's been there to assist, and she works like, she's on an hourly, and but she only works an average of maybe 15 to 20 hours a week. Sometimes more, sometimes less.
So 2, including the guy?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and that other person's on a 2-year contract, I'm assuming?
That one goes on a yearly basis, and then Mr. Powell is able to extend that when need be. So it's not a contract for a number of years like myself or Judge McVey.
Gotcha, thank you.
Anyone else?
Sure.
Is this going to be on the consent?
This is another one considered for consent tomorrow.
Okay,
Thanks.
Mayor,
yes.
so with his 4-year, he's wanting the 4-year for the stability.
Well, for stability,
or
court wants
do
it for stability as well, too.
You want,
It's hard to have to rehire these guys and you know, to find someone that just wants to work part-time. Because a lot of these, you know, because he's able to work part-time because, you know, he's a retired Superior Court judge. He has an arbitration practice that he does just part-time. So this is perfect for him. He doesn't need more hours than that. Whereas a lot of the other guys we try to hire, they're all wanting
want 40
full-time, or
hours
they're going to
plus.
be wanting to jump up to full-time as quick as you can. And then we're paying benefits and everything else.
which makes sense. Okay, thank you.
I just have one other question.
Sure.
When you say this is on the consent agenda tomorrow, but what I'm seeing here is the amendment is already agreed to and signed on here.
I think it needs,
Not by the city council.
Joel can help.
Yes, but you still would have you have the authority to say
Yea or nay?
yea or nay, and you could pull it off, you could talk about anything regarding the item. I usually get signatures of people, because I don't want things changed after I sign it. That's why you see their signature, and this is what they're agreeing to, because sometimes they might change their mind. That's happened in the past.
So
That's
this
why
is
you see his
actually-
signature.
So this is actually an agreement, this is what we both agree that this is what we want to propose.
Yes, it's not
Okay.
binding yet until
Thank
you authorize it.
Thank you.
You also don't have to track down people afterwards. That way you just need to get the approval of council, and we're good. Thank you. I'll see you
No
tomorrow
other
night.
questions?
Oh,
Thank
more
you.
questions? No.
Nope.
Thank you.
Presentation of results and recommendations of city compensation study.
Good evening, council and mayor. Thank you very much for having me tonight. Anna McRae, Human Resources Director. Merry Christmas. It seems like everybody's up here asking for money, and I may be no different. The city's fiscal year 23-24 budget included the funding for a compensation study to review pay. The overall goal of a compensation study is to ensure the city remains competitive in its wages, to successfully retain existing employees and recruit for future employees. The study assesses wages in order to retain those good employees and not lose them to surrounding entities that may offer more pay. It's more cost-effective to retain employees than to hire and train new employees. Every time somebody walks out that door, they walk out with that institutional knowledge. By setting those competitive wages and keeping up with those wages, we retain that experience across our organization wholly. The compensation study also evaluates external factors such as minimum wage, cost of living, and other factors. So historically, the city's compensation strategy has been to do a compensation study on a biannual basis. The last one we did was in 2021. A full classification and compensation study occur as needed. Those are typically more infrequent, such as 7 to 10 years. Probably the next round we do this, we may be looking at a full classification compensation study, because the last time we did that was in 2015. Historically, also, the studies, the compensation and the classification and compensation studies the city has conducted have been aimed at keeping the city wages at mid-market. That's around the 50th percentile among our comparators. So a little bit about the study overview. Public sector personnel consultants was selected to conduct the study. It included all city positions except for sworn police officers and police telecommunications personnel, which had studies completed earlier this year. Both realized a significant increase in their wages based on what the market trends were relaying. PSPC conducted analysis of the city wages and compared those to the wages for similar positions in our market comparators. As in the past, again, the study was conducted with the same goal as keeping the city wages at mid-market levels, that 50th percentile. The results of the compensation study, 66% of positions fell with in excess of 5% greater below market, 30% are competitive within 5% of the market, and 4% were slightly above market. The city's pay ranges were on average about 7% below the market. The study also highlighted the last 18 months have seen rapid wage growth, especially at entry-level positions, inflation, living wage, and minimum wage initiatives, coupled with higher turnover and scarcity of job applicants has resulted in greater than average salary increases across all sectors. And just as a graphic, here's the Arizona state minimum wage since about 2016 up through the proposed changes through next year, January 1st, 2025. That minimum wage will have almost doubled from $8.05 to $15 an hour. So that has a ripple effect upwards on wages. This compensation study was prepared so that we are addressing both the adjustments we have to make this January 1st, 2024 for the Arizona state minimum wage increase, plus the adjustment for next year. So we're not continually having to make adjustments and then that ripple effect, the compression get more and more upward on our salary schedule. The recommendations from the results were PSPC recommends a timely implementation to include placing employees on their earned step within their new salary range and or a model that best matches the city's budget to reestablish pay and pay tables at market average for fiscal year 24. They provided those results and what that would look like. The cost for a mid-fiscal year salary adjustment to implement compensation study results is $700,000 for the city. We anticipate, if you're comfortable with it, that a resolution and amended salary schedule would be on your January 16th City Council meeting for your consideration. The pay increases would then take effect within a month of that, February 21st, the full pay period in February, a month after your consideration and approval. The other alternative would be to wait and implement this through the budgetary process on July 1st. That brings some concerns only because we have about an 8 to 9 month lag in the data upon implementation, and we run the risk of being that much more behind, having to do this and then something more in addition. As of right now, if we implement this mid-fiscal year, we anticipate that there will be a proposal in your budget for a nominal perhaps step increase or a nominal cost of living increase in July. So this is kind of an incremental phasing of the compensation study into that, so it's not one big hit at the beginning of the fiscal year. We've consulted with finance and city management, and we're in agreement that the revenues are trending good in comparison to the expenditures for this fiscal year, so that this is being brought to your proposal. With that, can I answer any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
City Manager, we have the money to do the mid-adjustment, right? The one in February.
That is correct. This number did not surprise me, and it's not a number that is as big as I expected. I'm actually,
And if we
I
let
think
it
we're
go-
ready for this, and we're actually at the point from our employees to finally take that step to get into the market.
And if we let it go, it's just gonna make it even more money and probably cost us some employees.
That is correct.
I would say that one of the things that I've learned by being in charge of a large company's personnel is that the biggest turnover is in the first quarter of every year. And that is dependent on the fact that more people choose to find their new job with their new year. And if we have something that we put in place before that occurs, we will have less people newbies to try to train without having to deal with our experienced people working for those that we would prefer they didn't.
Your Honor,
Yes?
clarification
Sure.
for the record, this is not a pay increase for your city council or your mayor, correct?
This is not. If you are interested in pursuing that, definitely a direction to staff, and we're happy to look into that as well.
But, you know, the public wants to know.
Absolutely.
And so it is not an increase for us.
Correct. Not at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
So Anna, that, it has that, it's a mid-year, mid-fiscal year adjustment, and that's 700,000. So if you annualize that 12 months, it would be around 1.4 million then?
That is correct.
Okay, so we'll be looking at that number.
right.
In 24, 25.
So that will build upon the base, and then Anna mentioned to step up, we have to go back and compare to our comparators, and if it's a, you know, step or 2.5%, it'll be that 1.4 in the base. That's correct. That is, it's a
Correct.
half year amount or less, yeah.
The small compensation study done for the non-sworn police telecommunications, is that included in that number?
It is not, because they won't be realizing an increase. They recently realized an increase. I want to say those went into effect in October. Do you recall? Yeah, October. So they did get a sizable increase based on the mini compensation study we did. There was a lot of turnover in those positions, and due to the high stress, much like police officers, we felt that was more imminent need that we needed to address right then and there. So much like the sworn personnel who got a sizable increase with the budget in the fiscal year in July, the telecommunications officer also did in October.
Yeah, I can certainly say, Anna, having been in management for many years, turnover is deadly. I mean, the cost to recruit and then train people it's thousands and thousands of dollars that you could otherwise use to keep your good people. So there's no doubt we've got to be competitive in this. And I know the market is very difficult, and I know it's harder to find people who want to work, period, let alone work for the wages that they're offered.
Yes.
So.
I wholeheartedly agree. I believe pay, benefits, and work culture are the major components of why somebody leaves or stays.
Absolutely.
And with your support, we've made tremendous progress in all of those areas with the Arizona Metropolitan Trust for our health and dental benefits, salary increases that you've considered and improved over the years, and the work culture that starts with our city management. So I think we're in a good place. I hesitate to let up now. So if you're comfortable with this, you will see this on your January 16th City Council meeting for approval. That resolution will include the amended salary schedule as well as the authorization for the finance director to make those necessary budget adjustments fiscal year for that $700,000.
Mayor?
Yes?
City manager, we're gonna deal with the step compression thing too, where a person is not making more than the person, when they move up, they're not gonna make less than the person
We'll let
below them.
That is correct, but I just want to make sure Anna's going to answer that.
Absolutely, 100%. We are looking at anytime we hire somebody now into a position, we always look at internal equity. Also, as part of your fiscal year 25 budget, you will see a newly revised sworn PD salary schedule. It won't be as significant as the 15% increase that some saw last year, but it will be a new revised because we have to address the compression over there. I think the officers were the ones that saw the most significant increase, so now we need to look at the compression up to the sergeants, lieutenants, and up.
I just wanna make sure that we have fair spacing in between employees that promote up and, I'll just use the police department because that's what I know the best. If a sergeant's making more than a top sergeant's making more than a new lieutenant, why would you promote?
Absolutely.
Same thing with any other division or department. Why would you promote if you're gonna make more money where you're at? So.
I absolutely agree, and we are definitely looking into that, and we are working closely with AJPOA to make sure that we have a good system in place.
Because we got great employees. I want to keep our employees, and I agree with Bambi. We need to do something on the front end to show them good faith in that we really want to keep our employees happy and keep them here.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, presentation discussion on rejection of proposals for Superstition Shadows Aquatic Center artificial turf.
Mayor, City Council, Kimberly Help, Purchasing Administrator. I am not asking you for money. So on behalf of the Parks and Rec Department, we had issued a request for proposals for artificial turf for the Superstition Shadows Aquatic Center at the beginning of November. City received one response from EchnoSmart Property Services, doing business as Signature Properties. Staff reviewed the response and found that the proposal was unresponsive. One response was received via email, and that was unopened, as emailed proposals are not accepted. They're to be in a sealed envelope delivered to the clerk's office. We are asking that council reject the one proposal that was received so that we can either go out to bid again, or we can see if there's a cooperative contract that we can find to get this done. And then this is on consent tomorrow as well.
Any questions?
No, it sounds like they've got a pretty good plan on where we should travel from here.
I agree.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, well, I don't see anything other than adjournment, so I will adjourn. Thank you.
You will adjourn.